Japan and OECD. Also co-organized by IGS and ICRE. I'm Junichi Fujino from IGS. On this session, we'd like to introduce initiatives of Japan and the EU to create and identify leading regions for decarbonization with the aim of promoting the decarbonization of cities across the world. And this is 1 hour quick session. So then now first I would like to invite Mr. Yoshihiro Mizutani, Director for International Cooperation and Sustainable Infrastructure, MOEJ, for your opening remarks. So, yeah, please.
Good afternoon, distinguished participants. I'm Yoshihiro Mizutani from Ministry of the Environment, Japan. Thank you very much for joining our side event, leading action towards zero carbon cities. I would like to say a few introductory words on behalf of our ministry. Cities account for 70% of global GHG emission, playing a critical role in rapid transition to decarbonization. Race to Zero, a zero carbon initiative is accelerating in cities around the world. In Japan, the number of zero carbon cities which announced their commitment to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050 has now reached 785, covering 94% of Japan's total population. In order to achieve these commitments, government of Japan formulates a regional decarbonization roadmap. Based on this roadmap, national and local governments are working together to promote regional-wide decarbonization, not only in urban areas, but also rural areas. We believe that is also a regional growth strategy. We are also promoting the realization of local SDGs by maximizing use of local resources, such as renewable energy, transitioning to circular economy, and by using nature-based solutions. Japan aims to designate more than 100 leading decarbonization areas by 2030. And by spreading these models to other areas, thus we would like to trigger a decarbonization domino effect across the country. I understand that the EU has also launched a mission to create 100 climate neutral and smart cities by 2030. Creating leading areas are challenging for both EU and Japan, but we would like to make it happen and show our leading models to the world. By the way, this side event will consist of 2 sessions. In session 1, we will introduce the status of 100 leading decarbonization areas in Japan and the EU. In the session 2, Tokorozawa City and Yokohama City from Japan, Haiphong City from Vietnam, and Dublin City from Ireland will introduce their own leading initiative to you. Each city is promoting climate actions in response to local challenges, and also they are utilizing local resources. Some of them are also promoting international city-to-city collaboration. Finally, I sincerely hope that today's session will advance the efforts of cities around the world to move towards zero carbon world. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mizutani-san, for your opening remarks and then also introduction of the whole structure of today's side event. Okay, then now I would like to move to session 1 to invite the 3 speakers to talk about kind of 100 leading area or the carbon neutral city. So both 100 number, pointed out to be the like a leading area from the Japan and also EU. So first, I would like to invite the Mr. Satoshi Watanabe, Deputy Director for International Cooperation and Sustainable Infrastructure Office, Minister of Environment, Japan. So over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Satoshi Watanabe, Deputy Director, Ministry of the Environment, Japan. So today, this seminar is focusing on the concrete actions in each cities, but as a backdrop information, I would like to introduce the national government measures on subnational climate actions. So actually, almost all Japanese cities has already committed to their carbon neutrality targets by 2050. And in order to achieve each local governmental commitment, the national government made a regional decarbonization roadmap last year. And in this roadmap, firstly, we would like we emphasize the three key messages. One is key regional decarbonization. Decarbonization is a regional growth strategy. We are promoting regional revitalization together with regional decarbonizations. And the second one is a decarbonization project can solve problems in the regions. We are promoting a co-benefit approach between climate change and other local SDGs in local regions. And the third one is every municipality can take initiative and address it with current technologies. Yes, we are expecting future innovation, but this decade is very crucial towards the 2050. So we need to start concrete climate actions with current technologies. And this is time schedule stipulated in the roadmap. As my supervisor, Mr. Ni said, the first midterm target is to realize 100 decarbonization leading areas by 2030. And the long-term target is to achieve zero carbon city in all regions, in all local governments in Japan by 2050. And our plan is that by 2030, we will make the decarbonization leading areas, and then we will replicate such a leading areas and models to other areas. And through those efforts, we would like to achieve the all area carbon neutrality by 2050. And in order to achieve such a mid-term and long-term ambition target, the national governments is making us our support for local governments through providing human resources and technical knowledge sharing and funds. And regarding funds, national governments is making a financial contribution 20 billion yen for local governments and another 20 billion yen for business companies which implement decarbonization projects. So this is one example of decarbonization leading areas already adopted by our ministry. This is a case of Sakai City, one of the industrial city in Japan. The current challenge of Sakai City is there are many old buildings. So they have to update the building. So they are trying to update firstly infrastructure, prefectural housing to zero emission housing. That is the first priority of Sakai City. And after through the exchange to the ZECH, they will achieve making a decarbonization leading areas in Sakai City first. This is a second example of decarbonization leading areas. It is cases in Shikaoi town in Japan, rural areas. So in Shikaoi town, agriculture is a first industry. So and then they use the biogas power resources to make local renewable energies in their towns. And through such efforts, they will achieve decarbonization leading area in rural areas. Sorry, it's complicated, so the left QR code shows all of decarbonization leading areas plans adopted by our ministries. And right QR code shows another concrete actions oriented to another actions and solutions led by local governments. So please access via QR code and please keep in touch our concrete actions by local government in Japan. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Watanabe-san, for sharing the very leading project. And then I also contribute to this 100 decarbonizing leading areas as the acting chair of the evaluation committee. Okay, then now I also would like to have the speaker from EU, Mr. Euro Ailio, advisor for energy transition and local government, Directorate General for Energy. So yeah, over to you.
Should I use this one? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, IGES, and thank you, OECD, for organizing and having me here. So my topic today is indeed 100 climate neutral and smart cities, and I think it's great to follow from your interesting slides on this topic. So first of all, I'm Eero Ailio. I work at the European Commission, DG Energy. I'm an advisor on various types of energy topics to our senior management. And I spend a lot of time working with cities on including in this 100 climate neutral and smart cities mission that I will be talking about. So in that, also in the global Covenant of Mayors for Climate Energy, Covenant of Mayors, which is taking place also in Japan. I have very good memories from that. But anyway, that's just the background, and let's get to the point. So the European missions and the cities mission. So this is a new way of investing in research and development in the Commission. So we have a big research program called Horizon Europe, and this is where we finance many types of research actions. But what we want to do with the missions in this time period from 2021 to 2027 is to try something different. So the point is to choose 5 areas where we focus on. One of them is cities that we discussed today. Then also climate adaptation, including on regions. Then we have oceans and waters, and we have also cancer. These are like big societal challenges. And what we do here is we take a bit of an inspiration from the Apollo moon mission that US did in the 1960s. Kind of timely issue now. We were just watching the launch of the Artemis on TV. Anyway, I have a background in space stuff, so I get stuck with this, sorry. Anyway, so the logic of the Apollo mission has been now applied as an inspiration to the cities mission thing. So we reverse the logic of a research in the sense that we put a goal, a big goal, and the goal for now is 100 cities to be climate neutral by 2030. So basically 20 years before the rest of us in rest of the European cities, and as well also as in Japan. So that is the big goal, and it's a kind of a goal that in the 60s people thought that it's impossible for a man to fly to the moon. Well, today some people say it's impossible for big cities to be climate neutral by 2030. Let's see. Maybe it can work out. So indeed, we reverse engineer first the goal, and then look at how to work backwards to today and find out how that can be done, how we can reach the goal. So now the cities mission has two goals. One is what I just said, 100 cities by 2030 climate neutral. But then the second one is to test different types of innovative solutions, be it on finance, on the engagement of local stakeholders, of companies, and different things like that, and how to test them with those 100 cities and then apply them to all the other cities in Europe, and also gladly beyond Europe. And actually, in this mission, we have already now 12 cities from outside Europe, Israel, Turkey, etc., which are associated countries in our context of Horizon program. So indeed, to get this done, you need a fundamental transformation of the city to make it work. So it's really questioning everything we normally do, and finding then like specific ways for each, tailored ways for each of the cities, because you cannot really just copy a practice from one to the other very easily. They are too different. And okay, so what did we do in practice? We put the money into this, and then we launched a call for expression of interest. So we were basically asking challenging cities in Europe, who are the ones who want to step forward and take the challenge of 2030 climate neutrality. And we got 377 applications for 100 places. And that was much more than we expected. We were afraid when we were writing that what if we don't get enough cities? People don't trust that this is possible. No problem. We got more than enough, and that's good. So we chose then 100 from Europe, 12 from outside Europe who are joining this. And together these represent about 12% of our population. And what we have is we have a secretariat which is serving the cities now after their selection. Each city gets an advisor, like a person who is really helping that city with a specific work on plans, on finance, access to finance issues, on many of the different issues which are necessary there. And then we've set up a mission platform, and this is a platform, IT platform where you can share and contact the others and the other cities and compare experiences and then share solutions. And this is something that seems to be very well welcomed. We've just launched it. And then the important job for these 100 cities is that then they will pass on their learnings to others. So that's really like from the start, it needs to be like this. And this is a little bit different from what we normally do. And what is happening then actually in the cities which have been selected now? So the countries where they're located, the EU member states, like, Germany, Ireland, Finland, whatever. So we have encouraged those countries to set up the kind of cooperation networks for these cities which are being chosen from that country, and then also other ones, so that you create a way of them working together towards this these goals and talking very concrete things. And that is already happening. They are popping up in different parts of Europe. And then sometimes what the member state also does to help the work of the cities. So there are given easier way to access funding to get the work done, and there are some tax reductions. Some cities are giving tax reductions as well. There's help in planning. and various types of networking and other support. So that is all like taking place now. It's quite new, so we will see more how it is soon. And then one thing what we do is we have also created a so-called label for emission label. The idea is here that the mission cities that are part of this network, that they would have a label which would maybe help them to get a little bit easier access to further funds from, certainly from the EU sources, various types of funding sources, and also create credibility so that they can fast track on this work. And then maybe last point is that the city's mission will be complementing the other bottom-up initiatives that we have, and I just mentioned Global Covenant of Mayors as an important one, involving also Japan and many other sessions or regions of the world. So there's a complementarity, and we're really working on some details on that, how to make it work so that we don't reinvent any wheels, because that would be crazy. And maybe just to conclude, so I think that what we're asking cities here to do is something very ambitious. It's going to be difficult, and breaking maybe old value chains, creating new ones, not simple. But I at least have this kind of a conviction, and I've heard much more famous people say that as well, that look, particularly in the European context, investing in this kind of a green or clean transition, it just can't go wrong. I mean, it cannot be a bad investment, because we are in this situation. We don't have production of fossil fuels or this, let's say the old energy. We used to have, but we have less and less. We have very little. We depend all on imports, and we've seen now with the war in Ukraine what that does to us. So we are dependent. So for us, it's super important and logical, and it's also where the business development, business opportunities of the future are. And I think cities who go into this before others, so it's a bit like the mayor of Vancouver, with whom I've spoke about this one. So they will attract, that kind of cities will attract very smart young people, because they will want to work on this kind of a challenge. And they come from the good universities, and they will become the good taxpayers and entrepreneurs who will settle in the city. So it's going to be an all-around smart investment for the city in the long term. And let me stop with that, and thank you for the possibility to participate here.
Thank you very much for sharing the very, I do not want to say difficult, but it's a worthwhile challenge for the 100 carbon neutral and smart cities. Thank you so much. Okay, then I would like to invite the speaker from OECD, Mr. Dr. Tadashi Matsumoto, head of the Sustainable Urban Development Unit. So please come to the podium, and floor is yours.
Thank you, Fujino-san. First of all, I'd like to thank Japanese government to co-organize this event with the OECD. And as a co-organizer, I'd like to invite all of you and then welcome to this event. My colleague will be providing a closing remark to this event, but on my side, I would like to present one of the OECD programs to support cities and national government. In fact, this is an important point. Actually, subnational climate action needs to be a shared responsibility between national and local government. So the program is designed to support national and local government together. Let me move the slide to, yes, thank you. So this program is called Territorial Approach to Climate Action and Resilience. The objective of this program is, as I mentioned, to support national and local government. Very important background to this program is that when we say the role of cities are important, 70% of emissions and so on, we often miss the important context that cities are different. many cities are different in terms of size, in terms of potential for reducing emissions, or the challenges they face, geographical location, and so on. And you already mentioned the importance of a tailored approach and finding an innovative solution by different cities. But often it's a case that when national government discusses their national strategies, it's, for example, NDCs, it doesn't really, sometimes it's not always so that national government has a tailored approach to all the different situations that cities face. So we think that it's important first to have a common language between national and local government to really understand and share the situation at a local level by using the same, the common indicators that can be used at both at the national and local level. So this is the pillar one. In today's presentation, I'll focus on this pillar one. So I'll come back to this point. Pillar two of the program is to support both national and local governments by providing a checklist for multi-level or collaborative climate action. So whenever you have a program or you have you are launching an initiative, you can use this checklist so that if your initiatives or programs are really in line with multi-level climate action and you are effectively working with the different levels of government. Third, this is similar to the 100 initiatives that we are also trying to focusing on actually collecting the example of multi-level climate action and then share them for your inspiration. And then the last point is to track subnational climate finance. This part is actually focusing on subnational public expenditure, but in fact, it's not so easy for local governments to understand what portion of your budget is really used for green purposes or climate resilience, climate mitigation purposes. So we are developing also a tool on that. So this is a whole program, 4 pillars of a program. Then we like to invite you to look at some more information at the OECD website. I have some small materials for you to share. So if you are interested, please contact me. Now, for the rest of the time, I like to show some ongoing work on indicators. So as I mentioned, if NDC has a target, if national government has a roadmap with a target, we are warning or we are pointing out in many cases, when we are talking only with the national averages, we are masking quite important disparities across territory. So that's why we are thinking that it's important to create a common language form of indicators. So far, we have identified 32 comparable indicators which are internationally available and comparable across countries and cities. There's a difficulty in terms of the data collection. And so far, we have identified 25 at the regional level, meaning subnational regions. TL2 means like a state level. TL3 means like a county. In case of Japan, it's a prefecture level. But also we have identified 7 indicators which are readily right now available at the city level. So let me go to, so this is the green indicators are available at the city level. Then there are some others, but those are available at the territorial, larger territorial level. It's not a purpose of this program to create a new indicators. As you see, many of the indicators are familiar to you. But what we are stressing is that these indicators can be used both at the national level and local level. So I come back to the come to the end of this presentation that, for example, one policy implication is that national government can use these indicators as part of NDCs or part of the roadmap, that also local government can use the same indicators in their climate action plan and strategies, so that you can directly communicate and compare the result with the national government. Just showing a few slides, example of indicators. So this is greenhouse gas emission per capita. You're seeing some red dots and green dots. Green means emissions are reducing, emission per capita is decreasing, red is increasing, and then size of the circles are showing the levels of emissions. So just with this graph, you see quite a big disparity within the same country. So this is an emission. You can see the urban heat island intensity. So this is a map of Japan. And the first thing to say is that between urban and the non-urban areas, we identify already 5 degrees difference in terms of the heat island impact. And then also you see quite a big difference across cities. So some cities are more affected by heat island than other cities. Similar thing can be seen in green areas. And I'd like to highlight this graph. This type of graph is quite useful to see what, as I mentioned, so the dark green dots shows national average, and the other green dots are showing local government. So meaning, for example, this is the USA. You have national average here in terms of the green areas, and then you see these wide disparities in terms of green spaces. And this information is quite useful for national government to identify which cities, national government needs to support, or which, the investment should go. So, and then also national government can see the incentive to reduce these regional disparities through these indicators. Similar one for flooding here. So as you see also the national average and then also disparities. So with this program, we like to finalize this indicator framework and apply it to different countries. And I'm very happy to announce that Japan has joined this program as a first country and to work together with us. And we are very happy to invite other countries and cities to join this program. Next year, we are finalizing the indicator framework, finalizing policy checklist, and then examples. And the first 3 items, we are trying to make an input to the next year's G7 environmental minister process. And then also continue to go to the country level and the city level case studies of territorial approach. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very happy to have a discussion further with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matsumoto-san, for sharing new and very interesting initiative from OECD side. Thank you so much. Okay, then now let's move to the session 2 to share the case presentation. So then now I would like to invite my good partner, Togo Uchida-san, Executive Director of the ICRAE Japan. So yeah, please. And I will be back.
Thank you, Fujino-san. So I'll be moderating the session 2, introducing the leading cases towards decarbonization by some of the local governments from Japan and elsewhere. So I would like to ask the speakers to come on stage. So Fujimoto-san, please come on the stage. Takashi-san at the back. Yeah. Alison, please. Thank you very much. So we have heard that the EU and Japan both governments have a policy on decarbonizing 100 areas or 100 cities to become zero by 2030. So both governments, it was actually caught us by surprise as ICRE Japan. Sorry, I'm from ICRE Japan, by the way. And because since my work, I work with very closely with your European colleagues, and I work primarily on supporting Japanese local governments on sustainability. And I was discussing with the Japanese government, and I came to understand the Japanese government were interested to support 100 cities to become zero by 2030. On the other hand, I was talking to my European colleague, and they were saying the same thing. And but it was really funny because once we got this to a deep conversation, then we understood that actually the two governments have a same goal, but with a different approach. And I think there's I think areas that we could both learn because of the difference. And I think we could take that benefit as a full potential for the both areas, I mean, EU and Japan, to further realize this 100 areas of decarbonization by 2030. So without further ado, we are pushing the time a little bit. So I would like to ask each presenters to keep your presentation short as possible so that we could actually all ask questions afterwards. But I would like to start from Mayor Fujimoto-san. Can you please, and those of you who do not do, Mayor will be speaking in English, but afterwards we will have a question and answer in Japanese. And when that happens, you need this later on. じゃあ視聴お願いします。
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Masato Fujimoto, Mayor of Tokorozawa City, Japan. It is my honor to be here to present our efforts to achieve climate neutral. You may remember gigantic earthquake in eastern Japan in 2011. Humans are just part of nature. It became my core belief since then. We have received the same message from many other events again and again, such as COVID-19 pandemic. Humans should respect all life around us, not to exploit nor destroy them. Do you know Japanese animation movie My Neighbor Totoro? The theme of the animation is living harmony with nature, and it is inspired of the rich greenery in Tokorozawa. We should preserve and inherit this beauty city to our children. In this regard, I place the highest importance on reconnecting human and nature. That leads to my main policy frameworks: achieving decarbonized society and creating people-centered town. Tokorozawa City has also invested to establish the electricity retailer company called Tokorozawa Future Energy Power with the private companies in 2018. The company is now promoting the installation of solar power facility without initial cost using a power purchase agreement. If you use electricity, you should be the one who generates it. I hope it becomes a common sense among us soon. The next topic is greenery. I focus on preserving and creating green areas in the city. Greenery has several positive impacts, such as mitigating heat island effect and absorbing CO2. Especially, I want our children to enjoy nature, such as by fishing and bug catching like we used to do in our childhood. The experience would create the foundation of children's lives, and those children could always have their home in their heart. However, green areas have been lost due to the city development. Therefore, we are trying to increase greenery by introducing tax benefit and working with local organizations. We are also engaged in global projects and exchange information actively, such as through the Global Covenant of Mayors, GCOM, and the International Urban and Regional Cooperation Program, IURC. This July, Tokorozawa City has successfully received a compliance badge from the GCOM for reporting progress about mitigation and adaptation. As my concluding remarks, I'd like to discuss how we should achieve climate neutral by 2050. Tokorozawa City is now revising a climate action plan to achieve zero carbon society by 2050. In addition, we are now holding a climate assembly on climate change with support from Waseda University by inviting citizens who are chosen at random. We are expecting participants to deepen their understanding about climate change, and to develop ideas to make social change. Time is running out. As mayor of Tokorozawa, I am leading actions at the forefront for the future for all the children. Let's move on and lead actions together toward zero carbon society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Fujimoto. Now I would like to ask Mr. Takahashi. He is from Yokohama City, a very big city in Japan, very urbanized. So he will be introducing some of the examples of what Yokohama City is doing to decarbonize. Please.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. Just wait a moment, please. Thank you very much. So from me, I've introduced our actions towards zero carbon city. As you can see here, Yokohama is located west side of Tokyo and is a city with the largest population in Japan. This population, about 3.8 million, is as much as that in Uruguay and Mongolia, and it means that Yokohama is a so nation-like city, and it's so urbanized. Yokohama announced to become zero carbon city by 2050, and in accordance with national action for accelerating our measures against climate change, our mayor announced the target of 50% reduction by 2030 compared to 2013 last February. Followed by the target revision of Yokohama City Action Plan will be revised, and that is almost at the last corner, and I believe that it will be achieved by our city soon. Now I'd like to show some examples of our climate action. It is about decarbonization leading areas, as mentioned by Mr. Watanabe. In Yokohama, Minatomura area, located close to our city hall, and it's almost a central part of Yokohama, was selected as one of the decarbonization leading areas. There, we aim to build a model of decarbonization in urban area with public-private partnership. And here shows another example of our actions, which is about inter-regional cooperation effort. Since Yokohama has huge population, as mentioned, and does not have much open space, it is difficult to generate a large amount of renewable energy. We estimate it is possible to generate only 10% of our consumption in Yokohama. That's why we signed agreements with 15 municipalities in Tohoku and Kanto region, which is northeast region of Japan, that have a high potential of renewable energy. Under the agreements, we'd like to cooperate together with application of circulating and ecological sphere concept. This year, we have started new program to innovate and spread attractive lifestyle and a carbon neutral society. To reduce life cycle GHG emission, new lifestyle is necessary for various areas such as fashion, food, house, movement or transport, consumer goods, leisure, and energy. And spread new lifestyle, we believe that it should deliver not only carbon neutral, but attractive future. Under these views, Yokohama is trying to innovate business or local model related to sustainable and pioneer lifestyle. For this innovation, we'll utilize digital technology which can share various goods and assist our activity and local communities, which has been the basis of Japanese society for a long time. This program, we'd like to integrate carbon neutral society, sound material cycle society, society in harmony with nature and sustainable development. Cooperation with overseas cities and international networks is also important. Yokohama is a member of several international networks as shown in this slide. We share knowledge and lessons with other cities and participate in international conferences such as COP to advance bilateral and multilateral networks. To summarize, Yokohama has few focus on decarbonization and will accelerate it. We hope to work together to make carbon neutrality through with synergies between Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Takahashi-san. So now I would like to move on to outside Japan. So Alison Gilliland. So she's a councillor of City of Dublin in Ireland. So please share your experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I actually visited Japan about 5 years ago and had a 10-day tour of it, and I loved it. Two things really stood out to me, and you probably get told all the time about your efficiency on your transport systems. But the other one that really, I suppose, personally hit home as somebody coming from Dublin was the respect you have for your environment. It's green and you don't litter. It's spotless, and that really stood out. We have a particular difficulty in that area. I am going to give you a little flavor of Dublin. I'm going to talk to you about our climate challenges, our climate strengths, also our ambitions and why we applied to be part of the Mission City. So Dublin, as you probably know, is the capital of Ireland. The city administrative area has a population of 500,000. We've 3 sister local authorities that make up then 1.5 million in the Dublin region. Ireland is an island, so we're excellently positioned for wind energy, not so much solar, but definitely wind. Dublin itself is on a bay. We have a port, but we also have a UNESCO biosphere. So we're doing something when it comes to protecting the natural environment. We would have created our first serious, let's say, climate change action plan in 2019. And we would have done that collaboratively working with our citizens. And by that, I mean, we would have invited them in to talk to us. We held seminars. A lot of that was also around education. So they understood what we were trying to do. We were understanding what they wanted, but also their lived experience, because local authorities work where society and climate change and climate action interact. So we're very much on the ground. We also have an air quality plan, a transport plan, which is very much focused on mobility, a green infrastructure plan, and a corporate plan. And by a corporate plan, I mean us ourselves as a corporate body, the provision of our services, our building, and how we can be climate neutral in that space as well. Of interest, our building regulations required are nearly zero energy buildings, not as good as your zero energy buildings. We are a planning authority, and we've recently come out of a 2-year consultation process on what we call our development plan. So it's how we see our city develop over the next 6 years. And that included 3 rounds of public consultation that come back into the chamber to the local councillors. There's 63 of us, and we put motions forward to make changes to that. And it had very much had a climate neutral underpinning principle. And we've 2 main, I suppose, themes in that: the 15-minute city, whereby we want to develop the suburbs so that you are within 15 minutes walking, cycling, or public transport of everything you need. And the other one is the circular economy, and that's from all perspectives, from business, from recreation, and particularly from consumption. I'll talk about our challenges now, and one of them is the structure and the competencies and responsibilities of our local governments. Unlike other European colleagues, we actually have quite weak local governments, and by that I mean we do not have responsibility for all the services and all the competencies in the city. So we are a planning authority, we are a waste authority, but that is only street waste, litter. We don't have competency over domestic waste. We're a public housing authority. We're a transport authority in the sense that we provide the infrastructure, but we have no remit with regard to the services. So sometimes there can be clashes there where we want to excel, and the service providers don't. No more than every other city and local authority, there's financial challenges. We get a lot of our money from central government in the forms of grants, and they're specific. They're for housing, they're for transport. There's no mix and match and very little flexibility. And I suppose now with the war in Ukraine and the cost of living crisis, we're seeing prices for all our projects increase, and that removes what we can do. And we have our budget meeting in 2 weeks' time. We've very hard decisions to make around that. But what we're trying to do is look at our budget through the climate lens and what will give maximum reductions to the city. I mentioned the whole public litter. We are falling down on segregated public litter bins. I know you don't need them, but you see them in most European countries. We have very few of them. Yeah. The other thing that has happened post-COVID, and this may have happened in other cities, people became afraid to use public transport and reverted to the private car. So we, in the last 12 months, have actually seen emissions from transport and travel go up. We're trying our best to get people back out of that car and onto public transport or onto cycling. And we're doing that actually in a very disruptive way, in that we have 3 or 4 major cycling and public realm infrastructure projects that have, I suppose, required that we take lanes out of main arteries. And we're hoping that the commuters will get used to not having that rapid access into the city centre, and they'll change their habits. So we're being a little bit devious in that area. Our strengths: we have strong cross-party support for being a mission city, for actually excelling the 2030 and the 2050 targets by the EU. And we were delighted the opportunity to actually concretize that by this particular initiative. We have an amazing climate change coordinator. She came from Canada. She has a PhD in the area, and she's been passionate activist since she's been 13. She's educating us all, and she's motivating us, and there's nothing we won't do for Sabrina. We also have a really well-developed digitization program called Smart Dublin. We were actually joined second in the European iCapital Awards this year. First time we actually applied to it. And we use a very, I suppose, local approach to that. I'm sure you're all experienced of tech companies telling you that, listen, we have a solution to all your challenges. What we do is actually we go out to the market and we say, we have this challenge. We want companies to work with us to help us co-create to solve ours, but it can't be that flexible or that rigid that it's not flexible for other situations. We also work with our citizens in piloting those innovations, and then we involve academia so it's monitored, it's recorded, and it's disseminated as well. So I think that's one of our biggest strengths, particularly given that it's climate neutral and smart, and we're putting that research and innovation into a particular program. We're exceeding our own internal building targets. We already measure energy consumption. Green indicators, interestingly, our most socioeconomic disadvantaged areas have less greenery, and that's something we're working to rectify. So why did we apply? I think Eros sold it to you, the support, to have someone to guide you in accelerating your targets to 2030, and that's tailor-made, and that we as a city co-create with the mission our contract on that. The tech assistance, while we have great tech assistance, sharing and learning is crucial. Also the finance, there's finance there. If we can unlock it, we can work with other cities. And the network, that sharing and learning, and even being here, I can see things I bring back to my local authorities. So I suppose our ambition is carbon neutral by 2030, but at a human level, our ambition is to create a city that is healthy, that is sustainable, that is resilient, and that is an enjoy to live in for all those who work, live, and recreate in it. Thank you. And sorry for going over time.
No, not at all. I think there's so much lessons that I think we could learn from your experience, and for the 100 cities, the 100 areas that Japan is trying to decarbonize by 2030. Thank you so very much. We actually have someone who are signed online. She's from Vietnam. Her name is Dun Nguyen Tibek. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Thank you very much for waiting. So you're obviously coming from a different perspective, but please introduce what you are doing over there in Vietnam, please.
To join the event today, and my name is Nguyễn Thị Bích Dung from the Foreign Affairs Department, and our main group is to develop the international the foreign partners, and within this context, we.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we might have a connection issue. Would you like to try again?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So we just mentioned that within our main task, we try to develop the cooperation for the development of the city, as well as our mutual benefit with the foreign partners. Among the cooperation with the other cities in the world, we have quite a lot of international cooperation in environment issues. And today, I'd like to share with you about the city-to-city cooperation in realizing a zero carbon city through the experience of Kitakyushu, Japan, and our city. So just a brief on the cooperation between Haiphong City and Kitakyushu. We set up the relationships in 2009, and then after 5 years, our relationship come to sister city relations. And we have developed different projects of cooperation in economic development, in culture, education, and especially in environment. The Kitakyushu technical support have been developed to the development of a green growth promotion plan in Haiphong City. And now, beside the cooperation in different sectors, we mainly focus on the two main projects towards building zero carbon city. The first project is the development of a low carbon scenario for Haiphong. In 2015, IGES and experts from Asia Pacific Integrated Model supported Haiphong in developing a low carbon scenario by 2030. And by September 2016, the scenario was finalized and it was promoted at the 22nd COP27 in November of the same year. At the 26th COP26, the Vietnam Prime Minister also announced the country's commitment to the target of zero net emission by 2050. And in this context, our city of Haiphong, IGES and Asia Pacific Integrated Model experts have further discussion and cooperation to updating the scenario by 2030 in order that the city can achieve a net zero scenario by 2015. We have set up the focal points team to work on this scenario updating. The team cover both the expert from Haiphong local authorities and the experts from AIM and IGES. And we have learned and shared a lot of the discussion, lesson learned, and technique developments in this process. So at this moment, we have finalized the first draft of the scenario by 2050 for Haiphong. And we expect that with the early of 2030, the scenario for Haiphong by 2050 will be completed. And we may share further the lesson learned in this process, as well as the model from Haiphong through international cooperation with Kitakyushu, IGES, and AIM to other partners. And the second important projects towards the zero carbon city within the city-to-city cooperation between Haiphong and Kitakyushu is the project promotion of eco-industrial park toward carbon neutrality in Haiphong City. So the city of Kitakyushu, Haiphong, and IGES developed the project last year. The project has been supported by Japan's Ministry of Environment and aimed at promoting zero-emission industrial parks, building up eco-industrial parks, and creating a decarbonization domino, as well as the localization of SDG in industrial parks. We have identified 4 potential areas for promoting the energy saving, smart energy, renewable energy, energy recovery from waste. And 2 industrial parks of the city are trying to test this model with Kitakyushu friends. And these 2 industrial parks are trying to be the leading industrial park in the city, in the country, as eco-industrial parks. And for the coming term, there are many activities need to be done. However, since the COVID-19 has been controlled, we have many exchanges from the business, researcher, experts, and we expect that this project will have the fruitful results at the end of the projects. And in the coming term, from our point of view, we will continue to work to fulfill the commitment of Vietnam's at the COP26 for being the net zero by 2050. And in this process, the cooperation with international partners will still play important roles. And of course, we will work hand in hand with Kitakyushu City to realize a zero carbon society. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We were originally planning to have a Q&A after this, but since we are already over time, I have to conclude this session. So I apologize for that. But thank you very much. And can you please give a huge applause to the speakers, also from the online. Thank you so much. So I'll pass the moderation to Fujino-san.
Thank you very much, the panelist again, and also moderator, Uchida-san. Thank you so much. And so now I would like to invite the Mr. Wari to Westirat, Acting Head of Division Environment Transition and Resident Division, OECD Environmental Directorate, for your summary and closing. So over to you.
Thank you very much. I think we don't have time, so I would like to try to summarize this very rich discussion. So the first session gave us a good idea about two big initiatives, one in Japan about decarbonizing, regional decarbonization in different cities, and the 100 climate neutral and smart cities that the European Union is initiating. And then OECD gave us ongoing work on indicators, which very important to make some measurement and to give concrete actions about how it can be done. And then we heard from this champions cities what they are doing. So I think there is three important challenges to retain here that all cities around the world are facing. The first one, how to get there in 1.5, and this needs really an important and deep change. But at the same time, the challenge tells us something very important, that while we are changing our system through innovation, etc., we are also challenging with an important urban population growth. Today, half of the world population is urban, but you know that would be 80% in 80% in 2050. That means we are about nearly doubling the urban population around the world. More infrastructure, more transport, more food, more water, a lot of things coming. This makes the responsibility of the cities at the first front. Second challenge is to adapt the cities for extreme events. We heard during these days that something is happening wrong around the world, and the vulnerability of the city is the first point to look at it, because we have a concentration of population. This increases the vulnerability of the population. So what I would say to the cities here, the mayors, please think about resilience for any new investment that you are doing. Those is really related to climate uncertainty that we are here. Tipping points are coming soon, so if it's not already the case. So that's extreme events that can be an important threat. Third challenge, and I will finish, sorry for the organizer. Third challenge, the green transition should be just a transition. If you don't include all the population in this transition, you will not succeed. That's the big message that we have to. And I would say here, just transition means also inclusive transition. Think about the vulnerable people around the city. That said, I would like to thank very well the organizers. I would like also to thank the two moderators. We did a great job, both of you, and thank you all the speakers, and good luck for the future.
Thank you very much. So we close the session. So please have a good day. Thank you so much.